The sun beat down hard on the wide, sprawling plains of Willow Creek, the dust rising in gentle clouds beneath the hooves of a lone horse as a weary rancher named Colt Harrington rode toward the old trading post at the edge of town. His clothes were worn, his boots scuffed, and the heavy ache of seasons of struggle clung to him like a shadow. Colt wasn't always a man. Beaten by life, once he had dreams of growing his ranch into something grand. A legacy his late father would be proud of, but droughts, cattle sickness, and endless bills had carved deep lines into his face and deeper desperation into his heart. His last good horse had died 2 weeks ago. And with no horse, he could not work the ranch, could not move cattle, could not keep what little livelihood he had left. So today he came to buy one, just one, hoping he had enough coins rattling in his pocket to make it possible. The trading post was alive with voices, men bargaining, horses neighing, and the smell of dust, leather, and hay hanging thick in the air. Colt dismounted slowly, tying his old, tired mule to a post, the creature barely able to lift its head. As he looked around, he saw horses lined along the fence. Strong ones, lean ones, fast ones, all more expensive than he could ever hope to afford. His chest tightened, but he pushed forward, determined to at least try. The horse trader, a stout and sharp-eyed man named Pharaoh Briggs, recognized Colt immediately and smirked, as though he already knew the rancher's pockets were thin. "Harrington," he drawled, leaning on the fence post. "Come to buy hope you can't afford." Colt forced a polite nod, though humiliation stung. "Just need a good working horse." "Nothing fancy," he replied, keeping his voice steady. Pharaoh snorted. "Ain't nothing just about horses these days. Times are hard. Prices are up." Colt swallowed the frustration boiling inside him and stepped forward to examine a chestnut mare. She was strong, calm-eyed, exactly what he needed. "How much for her?" he asked. Pharaoh crossed his arms. $30. Colt froze. He barely had 12. Before he could respond, the sound of rustling chains and hurried footsteps echoed from the barn, and then a girl appeared. Thin, dirty-faced, wearing tattered clothes and no shoes. Her hair was messy, tangled like wild grass, and her hands trembled as though she expected to be struck for simply being seen. She looked no older than 18. Pharaoh's face hardened. "I told you to stay inside," he barked at her. The girl flinched, bowing her head. But what caught Colt's attention was her eyes, soft, full of fear, and pleading in a way that punched him directly in the chest. Something was wrong here. Colt's father taught him long ago. A real man's strength ain't measured by muscle, but by what he protects. And everything in him, the good, the tired, the broken, felt protective now. "Who is she?" Colt asked, his voice low. Pharaoh shrugged, annoyed. "Just some worthless stray. Picked her up from a storm years back. Useless thing. Good for chores and nothing more." The girl's eyes flicked up, hopeful for 1 second that maybe, just maybe, someone saw her. Pharaoh heard the price question again and grinned wickedly. "Tell you what, if you can't afford the horse, I'll make you another deal." Colt's brows tightened. "What deal?" Pharaoh gripped the girl's arm harshly, making her stumble. "Take her instead. She'll work the fields, the house, whatever. She don't eat much. And frankly, she ain't worth keeping." The girl gasped softly, her breath catching like she had been waiting for this moment, dreading it, fearing it, hoping for it all at once. She took one small step toward Colt, her voice trembling like a newborn fawn. "Please, take me instead." The words shattered Colt where he stood. Not just because of what she asked, but because of how she asked. Not desperate the way someone trying to escape would be, but desperate the way someone drowning calls for air. Colt looked at Pharaoh in disgust. "You're selling people now." Pharaoh spat. "Don't start preaching. The world takes the weak. Always has." Always will. She either goes with someone or she starves here. Colt looked at the girl. Again, thin arms, bruised wrists. Eyes full of silent stories that no one ever cared to hear. His ranch was falling apart. His life was a storm of hardship, but he still had enough heart to know this girl deserved more than pain. The girl's voice trembled again. Softer this time, like a prayer meant only for him. I can work. I can cook. I can gather water. I won't be trouble. Just don't leave me here. Colt felt something awaken inside him, something like purpose. Something like the man he once was before the world tried to break him. He slowly reached into his pocket, pulling out every coin he had. I'll give you what I have, he said firmly. Pharaoh scoffed, insulted. For $12. She ain't even worth that to me. Fine. Take her. But don't come crawling back when she slows you down. Colt ignored him entirely and gently approached the girl. She expected him to grab her roughly, but instead, Colt shrugged off his coat and draped it around her shoulders. The startled breath she took was so small, so fragile, it nearly broke him. What's your name? He asked softly. She hesitated. No one had asked her that in years. Lena, she whispered. Lena, Colt repeated, making sure his voice was kind. You're safe now. She blinked rapidly. As though tears were a luxury she was no longer allowed to have. Together they walked to his mule. Colt helped her onto the saddle, her limbs trembling from exhaustion. As they rode away, the wind carried off the darkness that clung to her, piece by piece. The first miles were quiet. The land stretched in golden waves around them. Birds chirping overhead, the sky opening wide and endless. Finally, Lena spoke, voice shy but filled with wonder at being able to speak freely. Why did you take me? Colt took a slow breath. Because no one deserves to be treated like property. Because you asked. And because. He paused, realizing the truth. I wasn't going to leave. Someone behind who still had hope in their eyes. Lena pressed a hand gently to her chest, as if steadying her own heartbeat. Day turned to dusk, and when they reached the ranch, Colt expected her to collapse from weariness, but instead, she looked around with quiet awe. Like the ranch was a palace and she was seeing heaven for the first time. That night, Colt made supper and let her sit at the table. Unsure whether she even remembered what it felt like to be treated like a person. Lana ate slowly, careful not to take too much, as though she expected the food to disappear at any second. Colt watched her, noticing how she flinched at every sound. How she didn't know how to exist without fear. And he silently vowed to give her back something the world stole. Her sense of safety. Days passed. Lena worked hard, not because she was told to, but because she wanted to help. She sang softly while sweeping the porch, fed chickens with gentle hands, and mended things Colt had long given up on fixing. With every passing sunrise, the ranch felt less like a graveyard of failed dreams and more like a home again. And Colt realized something unexpected, he was smiling more. Lena, too, blossomed slowly. Like a flower that had finally seen sunlight after years in darkness. She laughed quietly sometimes, soft, careful laughs, but they were real. The ranch, once silent, now carried the warmth of life. One evening, as orange skies settled behind the hills, Lena stood beside Colt while he fixed a fence. She glanced at him shyly and whispered, "No one ever chose me before." Colt paused, dust on his hands, tired from the day, and said gently, "Then I'm glad I was the first." The wind carried the moment softly, like a secret meant for only them. For sometimes, life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you need. And sometimes salvation comes not in the form of a hero, but in the form of someone who simply refuses to walk away. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful, emotional Western tales like this, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories continue.